So a couple of weeks ago, I spoke on evil, spoke on joy. We've heard about story and meaning. This week I'm going to talk about peace. And what I find for myself, and maybe I'm the only one, that peace can be really elusive. That of all the different qualities we talk about, it appears to me that the most elusive one is peace. I stay in love longer than I stay in peace. Am I the only one? Yes? Okay. Yes. Yeah. And we try so hard to be in peace, right? And then the things that throw us, somebody cuts us off in traffic, right? Or loud noises, particularly when you're trying to meditate. I remember once years ago, I'm meditating and all of a sudden the church bells went off in the middle of my meditation. I was like, oh my, here I'm trying to sit in peace. What the heck is that? Or how about this? You do meditate, you get in that real peaceful place. And then in the next minute, something happens and throws you right off. And you're like, God, how could you? And you blame the other person, right? Why are you doing? I was feeling so peaceful till you did that. Right? I'm the only one who's done that, right? So it tends to be elusive, and I think that. And so what I'm going to speak about today is some of the ways in which we can build our peace. And the analogy that I like and why I called this talk, You're going to need a bigger boat, is because most of us go around with peace the size of a rowboat and then try to take it out on the ocean. How's that going to work out? Right? So we start out with peace the size of a rowboat, and maybe it's out on the river. We don't even try the ocean yet. But life brings us that ocean anyway, whether we want to or not. We've tried putting up boundaries, right? Oh, I'm not, this is my boundary. This is my square. This is what I'm staying in. And what we're really doing when we do that is say, this is the point at which my peace will leave. Right? If you cross my boundary, I will not have peace. You're going to need a bigger boat. And so what we're looking for is a luxury ocean liner of inner peace. Now, they don't get rocked as near as much as a rowboat. But how do we do that? How do we build that ocean liner of peace from a rowboat? How do we do that? Well, one of the ways in which we do that is here through this teaching. This is why I'm up here. I am just, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about this today, but I am constantly amazed at the different person I am today than the little rowboat I started out in, where anything could throw me off. I didn't even have a rowboat. I think it was like some dinghy or something, just of peace. I don't even know. It might have just been like one of those boards or something. I don't know. But the idea being that you start out and then you get into this, and one of the first things that happens when you start taking classes here is you learn that the reason your peace is getting thrown so much is because of your view of the world. And one of the things we say around here, one of our sayings is we don't teach you what to think, we teach you how to think, so that you have the ability to shift what it is that you had in mind, thinking that this is the way life is. This thinking, this is the way life should look. if you are stuck in a way in which, if it doesn't look this way, I will not be in inner peace, then your peace is getting rocked all the time. But it's hard to see that if what's happening here is you're showing up on Sunday and you're listening to me talk and you're getting inspired, but you're not in class practicing this stuff. Then you wind up in a situation like my wife talked about, Ash, a few weeks ago, maybe it was a month ago at this point, where she was saying that, that she was at the Agape Church. And where Michael Beckwith, the famous Michael Beckwith, was talking, a very inspirational guy. And she listened to him talk for 2 years, just showing up on Sundays. And then the ocean became tumultuous in her life. And she got thrown over like it was just a rowboat. And that's when she realized, oh, classes. So just showing up on Sundays to hear me talk isn't going to grow your boat. It may feel good, but it isn't going to grow your boat. What we teach around here will. What we practice around here will. We teach practices, spiritual practices that create joy-filled lives. And so Joseph, he's teaching this class. If you're not in Ash's class now on Foundations, I highly recommend getting into Joseph's class. It'll be online. He's not just a practitioner, but he's also in ministerial school. So he's really practicing and getting into this stuff. It's a completely online class, and I don't remember when it starts, but you saw it earlier, and they'll be talking about it, the next few weeks. But I'm just saying, that's how you grow your peace. That's how you get from a rowboat to at least a bigger yacht. Maybe not yet to a ocean liner. But there's a start there from practice. And so one of the practices that I've been doing since my 20s, like I said, I'm relentless. I was telling Ash this morning that I think it is my relentlessness that has changed my life more than anything else, because I was determined to have my life have a higher quality. I mean, the difference between who I am now, and I know I've spoken about this before, but it constantly amazes me that I'm the same guy I was, who was anxious and depressed, who was scared of pretty much everything. Didn't stop me from doing stuff because I'm relentless, but I was the kind of guy who was yelling at everybody, anger issues up the wazoo. And so in my 20s, my depressions would sometimes last like 3 to 6 months. I couldn't even get out of bed, I was a waste case. And then one day, before I continue that story, I should tell you the context, which I forgot to tell you. So let me give you the context of what I'm talking about here. What I discovered is that the best way to grow your peace is lean into what's uncomfortable. The more you try to be comfortable, the more you set up whatever structures you're setting up in your life that keep you comfortable, the less chance you have of building your peace. It is leaning into those areas that have you uncomfortable. This is what I've discovered. This is what has changed me the most. And so one of those first areas was my depression. I'd been to therapists, I'd tried this and tried that, and nothing was really working. So one day, in my 20s, I said to myself, in the midst of my depression, I'm not budging until either I die or my depression shifts. That's it. I've had it. Leaning into it, right? This is really, I really did this. I sat in the same spot without moving for 3 days. Now, if you think about that long enough, it'll come to you all the things that go on. I did not move. 3 days. I woke up on the 4th day laughing hysterically. This was the beginning of me laughing at myself, which has continued throughout since then. I woke up, I just thought it was the funniest thing in the world that I had just sat here that long. And what I learned from, and the depression was done, because I was too busy laughing, right? And so it's not like I didn't have depressions after that, but now I knew, number one, that this too shall pass. And number two, nothing's worse than being depressed about being depressed. And when I speak to people about their depression, I notice that that goes on a lot. Is that people are just so upset and depressed about their depression, it actually sends them spiraling, right? And so I have learned, because through my leaning into those places that are uncomfortable for me, that we have within us, one of my first teachers had said to me, the biggest block we have to our authentic nature is not believing that left to our own devices, we will grow into who we came here to be. So we discipline ourselves and bend ourselves out of shape and do this and do that to try to make ourselves who we think we should be, instead of allowing ourselves to organically become who we already are. You with me on that? And that's what I discovered through that experience. So once it worked with that, I started applying it to other things. I finally, in my 30s, got to the point where my road rage got so bad, it almost killed me and my wife at the time and our kid, our little baby. So this has got to go. So I decided to lean into that. So I started driving. I took the car out and on purpose went to those places on the road where I had the most trouble with people. Day after day after day, until finally I was just looking at folks and it wasn't a big deal anymore. It happened naturally. I didn't have to push it. I didn't have to make myself. It was a natural process. And this is what's possible when we simply lean into that which is uncomfortable for us. Now, I'm an extremist, as you can probably tell. So I'm not saying doing it the way, you need to do it the way I did it. That isn't what's important here. What's important about what I'm sharing is that you find your way of leaning into what is uncomfortable for you so that you can expand your boundaries, that you can increase your peace and build a bigger boat, right? In yoga, they have this great saying. They go, go into your stretch, lean into your stretch, and smile. If you can't smile, back up the stretch to where you can, right? So you can take on what's uncomfortable for you a little bit. You don't have to dive in like I do. That is a personal choice, not one I'm recommending. It's just mine. But I am recommending leaning in. Leaning into that which it feels uncomfortable is your next place of stretch. One of the things that I've been working on recently is the idea that I recognized that I was defining myself by a person who doesn't sit well. I've been in Science of Mind, going to Science Centers for Spiritual Living for over 25 years. And the first thing I did after I realized this was the place for me was volunteer, not because I liked volunteering, but because I didn't want to sit. And I just kept volunteering, and then before I knew it, I was being asked to play music, and then I became the music director, and it was also I didn't have to sit. And so a couple of months ago, I heard myself say to somebody, I don't sit well. And then I thought to myself, wow, I've never really taken that one on. That this is my next stretch. This is my next place to lean into. And that's how you do it, right? You look at your life, you see how you've been defining yourself, because any way you've defined yourself, you've put a limit on yourself and put a point at, past this point, I will not be peaceful. Anywhere you've defined yourself, you have set the point of your peace. This is what I have learned. This has been my process. And so this is what I'm sharing with you. And this is what has transformed me. From this guy who could have been in jail or dead to the spiritual leader standing on your stage now. Anyway. It's unbelievable to me, really. I look at my life. I got friends from high school, and it's unbelievable to them. So I started sitting, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And again, because this is about organic, I didn't put any, it wasn't any particular type of meditation. It was simply to allow myself to find it's my own way in the idea of redefining myself. And that's what you want to do. You want to find your own way to press up against or stretch up against, lean into your edges so that you can redefine yourself, become anew. We all can. I mean, I'm just astounded at how it just keeps happening. I keep doing this, and I watch others keep doing this, leaning into whatever it is that has you uncomfortable. However you've defined yourself as, this is how I am. Oh, that's how I am. That's just how I am. Am I the only one that's ever said that? And so I invite you to lean into those places and 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And then here's what happened once I surpassed 20 minutes. I started noticing something, that a byproduct of me just sitting. My mind got quiet, all by itself. I wasn't doing any particular meditation to quiet my mind. I was just sitting. It found its own way. 30 minutes, 35 minutes. All of a sudden, I'm sitting in ways that I never thought was possible for me. And my mind is getting so quiet that even when the dog's barking, or right across the street they start the construction, it's not throwing my peace. I got a bigger boat. When I was I discovered how large my boat was, obviously, when I was in the hospital in July, when the doctor says to me, you're probably not going to make the night. And I was at complete peace with it. So was Ash. We both are starting to notice how big our boat is getting in our peace, how we have redefined ourselves. And continue to do so. I was telling Ash just this morning that she had a very big week this past week, and it was the most calm I've ever seen her in all the 10 years we've been together, with having that hectic a week. But this is what's possible, right? You start with your rowboat. You start getting into these practices. You start leaning into where you're uncomfortable and stop avoiding where you're uncomfortable. I mean, that's the biggest thing that I see people do that gets in the way of their peace, is they avoid what's uncomfortable. I'm not doing that. That's too uncomfortable for me. Well, then you've marked where your peace line is, and you've marked how big your boat is. So I invite you to grow your boat. I invite you to take on that which is uncomfortable. I invite you to take the classes that are here because they will support you in doing that. They will support you in growing your boat of peace. And I'll tell you, it is such a strong basis. One of the things that's incredibly important is trust. Your peace will never be larger than the amount of trust you have in life itself. One of the things about that I've noticed for me is that I don't have to trust in any one person, any one thing, any one circumstance. Because whatever happens with that one person, one thing, or that circumstance, I trust in life itself. That life is going to bring me the best that life has. That I get to experience the best I am. And the more I deepen my trust, the more I deepen my peace. They're hand in hand. Can't have one without the other. They work together, hand in hand. So how well do you trust that your life is going to work out? They call it pronoia. You know what paranoia is? Pronoia is the insidious feeling that life is working in your favor. Because it is. And our teaching really builds towards that for you. The idea that we can relax, be peaceful in the midst of what can be horrific circumstances. Anybody lose their peace from just turning on the news? I use the news as a place to find my peace, as a place to remember the truth and trust that life is working. This is what's possible when you get deeper and deeper into these teachings. Lean in. Lean in. You guys want to do a meditation on this? All right, let's do that. Take a deep breath. Relax, and if you're comfortable, close your eyes. And as always, imagine yourself in a path. It is the perfect path. It is your path. How it feels beneath your feet, the air, the sounds, the smells. Absolutely perfect for you. And this path leads you to a sanctuary. It is your sanctuary. It is absolutely perfect. And in the center of that sanctuary is a chair. And when you sit in it, it is so perfect for your body. You feel the Take another deep breath and relax even more. And now imagine you are right there with something that makes you uncomfortable. Whatever it is for you. And imagine yourself leaning into it, being with it, and trusting that this situation, circumstance, person, whatever it is that's uncomfortable for you, is for your good. It's there to teach you to grow your boat of peace. And as you lean into it with trust, with love for yourself as well as the situation, imagine your peace growing, your boat of peace building larger, your ability to stand in peace larger. Feel how wonderful that feels. Now lean in a little more into that uncomfortable situation, person, or circumstance. And again, surround it with love, peace, and trust. Lean in only as far as feels right for you. And now pull back, sit up, breathe in your new, larger sense of peace. Know that this is possible for you and for everyone you know. Know this is possible and that this is what creates a loving, thriving, transformational world. Thank yourself for taking this risk, and when you're ready, open your eyes. Peace does not have to be elusive. Lean in and reap the joy of peace. Thank you. I love you.